Hi, and welcome back to Scholastically Natalie. Today we're delving deep into my project of Adultolescence by Gabbie Hanna, and we're going to talk about it for a while. This is part one. So, I've decided to divide Adultolescence up into 4 parts. It's a 248-page book divided into 4 parts of 62 pages. I sorted every poem by bad, meh, suggested edits, that I like it, and then, the topic's a bit questionable. There is an extra bonus where I was identifying memorable writing because I thought that Gabbie Hanna really did show that she has some potential to write really well in the future. If she took the time to maybe take some poetry classes, participate in some, maybe even like spoken poetry, because hers seems a little bit more offbeatish, could do well for spoken poetry, but honestly, I think she would be greatly helped by some poetry classes, to be honest. So, I bought Adultolescence secondhand, mostly because I watched all of those videos on how terrible it was. And I noticed that they all repeated the same poems, and I really noticed that while it made fun of some of it, I wanted to see if the whole book was really as bad as they were saying it was. And so that's what we're here to find out together. So, we're going to start off with the entire system that I have. So, I decided at the beginning of each section that we're going to talk about the bad, the good, the meh, the questionable. I will be telling you how many poems out of that 62-page section that I identified as that category, and then what percentage of the total section that made up. Some of it might not be 100% accurate. I rounded up the percentages. I also may have double tagged some things. I literally just counted it and then put them on here. I either double counted things or didn't double count things. My methods changed as the book went on. You will see that soon. So with this, the bad, I sorted things 3 different ways. I had the uninspired, the surface level, and the questionable. I didn't want to read you every single one of these poems and then also have to tell you why I thought they were bad, because sometimes it's just literally one sentence, and I didn't want to have to make this video like literally an hour. Probably more than that. I can get really into it when I'm writing. So you can see here which of these poems fall into which. I have some examples that I'm more than happy to read to you and show you. I will be reading out of the book, but I have typed them up and they will be put on the screen. Sorry if the screen's a little bit hard to read. I took snips of the writing on a Google Doc. I really didn't know a better way to do it. I really need to look into more of editing stuff. But I also don't think anybody watches my videos, so we will leave that time and investment for later. So the first one I want to talk about is called Sleep. It is on page 2. Honestly, I was a little disappointed to find that Gabbie seemed to pack a lot of her beginning with pretty not good poems. When instead you should, if you know you're going to have some bad poems, pack the beginning and the end with good poems and put the middle with bad ones, so that you can leave people feeling a little bit like their money was actually worth it and completely trick them. So, this poem is called Sleep. I like sleep. Sleep is neat. If you're having trouble, count some sheep. I like sleep. Sleep is sweet. Best of all, sleep is cheap. When I sleep, I can dream of cherry pie and Boston cream. When I sleep, I don't have to think. That's why I love my 8-hour blink. I only wake up to eat or pee, otherwise I'd sleep for eternity. So this is clearly written with an ironic tone and a twist ending, and Gabbie did make it pretty clear in the beginning of the book with her dedication that she was planning on this being sort of an irreverent, kind of jokey book. And I took this to be that this is probably supposed to be some sort of like charming, goofy riff where you have like that fun, sing-songy rhyme, but it's actually talking about dying. Which, like, I'm not sure if that's a great poem to start the book off with. I'm not sure if that's the poem you really want to sell to your impressionable young audience, but what do I know? I'm not a best-selling author. And that was, one of my main gripes is that we start off this book with 2 poems that are super sing-songy and childish, but are supposed to be some sort of like biting criticism. And I don't know, they didn't really hit where I wanted them to when I pick up a poetry book. So the next one is called Recess on page 3. Jacob and Emily sitting in a tree, Kissing. First came love, then came marriage, then came a stale and empty life as a result of the societal pressures to wed, which led to a semi-public affair and a severe case of alcoholism mixed with mental illness, followed by a grueling 2-year divorce that damaged the kids emotionally and left everyone without a sense of direction or self-worth. Sorry, that was a lot of air. I read that as like coming out as like one big mesh in one breath. I did in fact like the line "to wed which led." I liked that rhymes in the midst of like almost no rhyming, and it does maintain that childish energy even with a serious topic. But I feel like, what are we kind of talking about? What are we connecting with this poem? Like, what deeper issue are we talking about? Because right now I feel like we're just kind of saying, hey, society sucks, but we're not really saying why society sucks or like how we can make it feel better. I feel like we're kind of making some sort of like just a topical sort of like surface level analysis. For me at least, it didn't feel like a super insightful poem, I should say. Oh, I forgot to take a picture of this one. Well, honestly, it's just because it's drawing and it's set up as dialogue. But it's called Pout, and it's on pages 8 and 9. And on the left-hand page, there is a man crying, and on the right-hand page, there's a woman. And the man says, "Life sucks." And the woman says, "Be grateful you woke up this morning." And the man says, "That's the worst part," with an exclamation mark. And for me, I was just kind of like, why are we writing a poem about suicidal ideation? Why are we... Because, like, I get, yeah, okay, we had a period of time in which joking about wanting to die was kind of a thing, which now that, you know, you look back on it out of that time, you're just like, wow, that was supposedly edgy, but really was just wildly insensitive. And since, you know, this is definitely meant for a teen audience, I can't picture any adult picking this up seriously. I really don't think we should be writing poems that encourage suicidal ideation, that kind of make light of that feeling, especially one that doesn't offer a way to improve the situation or your own thoughts on the matter. I do think that talking about suicidal ideation is important. I certainly wouldn't deny that. But I do think it requires a level of tact that doesn't turn it into a joke. And while I understand that you as the author might be feeling suicidal ideation, I definitely urge you to seek a therapist instead of writing poems about it in a book you encourage people not to take seriously. Okay, so the next we have Philosophy, which is one of those poems that I don't think anybody can take seriously. It's on page 35. It says, "If you eat an entire pizza by yourself in the woods and no one's around to see it, do the calories count?" This is just a tweet. That's all I have to say. It's just a tweet. This is not what I would certainly call poetry, because you're not really doing anything with these words. You're just making a joke. Again, it's a tweet, it's a fluff piece. This fills up a page. Yeah, we're not on that one yet. Okay, so then we have Idle. Right? Yes, Idle. Sorry, I have my tabs. They're clear on the top. So we have Idle on pages 46 through 47, which is, again, another one with talking heads that I clearly was going to take a picture of, and I somehow forgot about that and only took a picture of one poem. But the boy says, "If you could trade lives with anyone, who would it be?" And this woman says, "Marilyn Monroe." And he says, "She's dead." And she says, "I know." So again, with the suicidal ideation, I really do question this as a topic. I don't think this is incredibly insightful. I don't think this is a good way to broach this topic. I don't think it's funny. It certainly didn't make me laugh. It just made me kind of go, oh. So, yeah, again, questionable topic choice. Very questionable. I almost forgot about smile. For some reason, my brain decided to forget that I had included it here, and I pulled out my mark of it. There we go. Okay, so I have something to complain about with smile before we read it because it's going to be lengthy. Well, no, we're going to read it first. So, this is called Smile. It's on pages 38 through 39. You can see the writing that I wrote. I wrote on every single page of this book, I think. So, the thing about a smile is it can make somebody's day. A plain grin to a stranger can melt their cares away. Sadness, sorrow, mourning, heartbreak, hopelessness, and grief can all be blissfully wiped away with a simple flash of teeth. A really shitty, stupid, boring day is all worthwhile if at the very end you were rewarded with a smile. If you parade your row of ivories just a bit more often, the rough edges of someone's day might just begin to soften. If more people swore to show their pretty pearly whites, I'd bet my bottom dollar you could minimize the fights. So go ahead, wear your smirk all day and wear it proud. Wear it happy, wear it big, wear it long and loud. Stretch your mouth out to your ears until your cheeks are shaking. I don't care if all that beaming means your face is breaking. Sew your lips to your gums so you'll never quit your simper. I don't want to hear a gripe and not a single whimper. And so then as we move to the other page, we turn it upside down. The thing about a frown is it can ruin someone's day. Just one glance of disapproval can melt your joy away. Gladness, laughter, pleasure, humor, cheerfulness, and glee can all be wistfully wiped away with a smile's absentee. A really happy, sunny, funny day can be destroyed if at the very end you find a grimace is employed. If you promenade around with a healthy, hearty scowl, even the most pleasant day can start to feel quite foul. If more people started wearing grief upon their lips, there'd be enough antipathy to sink the mightiest ships. So don't you dare, just wipe that gloom right off your ugly mouth. Turn the corners upwards, don't let them travel south. Smile, beautiful, don't be selfish. Come on, don't you know? You're never under any fate to let your feelings show. Don't furrow your brow or scrunch your face all up in a bundle. I don't want to hear complaints, don't let the grumbles rumble. The thing about a smile is it's not too hard to fake it, so I'll never let you make my day for fear that you might break it. So, I really like the concept, and I love the whole turning this smile upside down to make a frown, and then in return turning that frown upside down to make a smile. I really enjoyed that. But again, if you can see where I marked the second half, I didn't like that second half of this poem. The rhyming got to be too much to me. It all started saying the same thing over and over and over, and I didn't think it was that good. I liked the wordplay, which was the turning the smile upside down. I liked the concept of that. But then in the second half, it was just a repeat of smile, but with different words. Like, everything rhymed. It was the same thing. You listed all the same adjectives. You said the same. Like, it was just a repeat of smile when I thought it was going to be something more insightful about frowns. Literally, the bottom two words that are the bottom two sentences that are highlighted, those were the best part of frown. So for me, it was just disappointing. Okay, and then we have, there we go, then we have cheater, if I can get the pages separate. Okay, so we have cheater. It says, I accidentally used your toothbrush today, but I didn't mind, because it's the closest I can get to your kiss. Then I remembered where your mouth has been, and I got really fucking pissed. Again, it's not really saying anything. This is a tweet. You could tweet this out. Like, sure, it's said in a funny way, but it's... I don't know. For me, this didn't do much. This didn't say anything insightful or, new to me. It's just, sometimes people cheat. So for me, it was not very insightful or inspiring. And then we have pets. I don't really want to read it out loud. Okay, this is on page 56. A cute little dog, a cute little puppy. Mommy will get me one if I'm lucky. I'll walk him and love him and watch him grow. He'll fetch and bring back the ball that I throw. A cute little fishy, a cute little fish, and a cute little bowl with bright rocks is my wish. I'll sprinkle a bit of his little fish feed, and he'll gobble it up with his guppy mouth greed. A cute little kitty, a cute little cat. He'll arch up his back and chase a fat rat. He'll be moody and lazy and take a sunbath. And I'll give him some catnip when I need a laugh. I love all my pets. I love them so dearly. They're my best friends, truly, sincerely. I'll keep getting pets even though I cry every time my cute little bestie dies. Which again, with the childish sing-songing rhymes and then having like this quote-unquote, ooh, surprise twist at the end where it's actually about a deep, dark subject. To me, again, it's just, oh no, animals suck. The world sucks. Like, I don't know. It doesn't bring anything new. And in comparison, I don't think I typed this one up because I figured I'd talk about it when I talked about pets. There is another poem after this on pages 58 and 59, which is called Continued, because it's Pets Continued. And it says, pets are weird. People getting pets are weird. Think about it. We choose these creatures to love and care for. They become our best friends, our children, the furry shoulder to cry on when no one else is around. You depend on one another and you fill their bowl. They need to eat. We need to feed our soul. We teach them tricks and make them do people things. We post photos online and include them on our Christmas cards. We can't believe we could love a thing so much, and they become an unwavering emotional crutch. We build an uncomplicated, pure, everlasting love, and we do this all knowing damn well that this precious little beast will, more than likely not, die long before us. We become so connected to this being with full knowledge that someday we will lose them. We will miss them. We will hurt. We will suffer. But we knew this. We knew this before we went to Petco in the first place. But still we went, and still we loved, and still they died, and still we hurt. And I actually really like that. I like the concept. I like most of the approach. I would personally delete the pets are weird, people getting pets are weird, think about it. I would delete all of that because I don't think you need to set up that approach. Personally, if you just titled this pets and deleted the entirety of the before pets, this would be a far better poem. Because it really expresses more of the kind of like this is a cyclical human nature, even though I think that's still what Pets page 56 was trying to do. This expresses that so much more with more emotion. I feel like Pets was trying to kind of be like, oh, look at this cycle, and like these animals always make you so happy, and then Continued was kind of like, oh, look at this cycle and we're always sad because they die. But I think the Continued makes so much more of a poignant point than Pets does, if that makes sense. Oh, and this is when I started realizing that I need to make a questionable answer. So this is called Cut, and it's on page 61. Her hand trembled around the sharp, cold metal as she looked at her distorted face in the mirror. Just do it, she told her reflection. Don't do it, her reflection replied. Come on, pussy, she shouted at the glass. You're going to regret this. You always do, the glass warned back. No one gives a shit if I do it, she reminded them both. This is a permanent decision based on temporary emotion, the mirror pleaded. Hair grows back, dumbass. Snip. Ugh. Why are we doing this bait and switch? Why are we doing this bait and switch about self-harm? Because I get the whole, ooh, haha, you thought it was one thing, but it was really another, gotcha. But this feels really exploitative and very disrespectful to people with this actual issue. Even if you yourself have it, this is exploitative and honestly really not okay to write about like this. I don't think that's okay. To me, this felt like one that really made me unhappy. And yes, even though sure we can say we're taking artistic liberties and like maybe we're trying to talk about self-harm without actually talking about self-harm, but at the same time we aren't saying anything about self-harm. So even if we are trying to make a statement about it, we're not saying anything. This doesn't say anything about self-harm. So all you're doing is being disrespectful. Okay, so we're moving on to the meh. I'm going to take a drink right now because talking makes my voice box hurt. Okay, much better. So, with the meh, I found 9 out of 62 of the poems to be, okay. They accounted for 15%. Later, some of these along this line got demoted because I got tired of reading ones like them. So, the first one we have is O Positive, which I am sure you have seen in all of the videos. It's on page 4. I donated blood today. Feels good to finally be somebody's type. I literally wrote below it, this is just a tweet. And it is. You're not saying anything today. All you're doing is being self-effacing and giving yourself low self-esteem, to be honest. I have nothing else to say. It's just a tweet. It's not very good. Okay, next we have dreams on page 40. So, my therapist tells me what my dreams mean, and I believe him. The way you believe your teacher when he tells you what a poem means. So to me, there's kind of like 2 ways you can interpret this. One can be that when your teacher tells you what a poem means, you're kind of like, oh, okay, I don't care. I'm not really going to apply this in my real life. In which case, get a better therapist. Also, work harder in your therapy. Or you can interpret it as, I have unwavering trust and belief in whatever my therapist is telling me because I have unwavering trust and belief in what my teacher is telling me. Alternatively, you just don't really care what your teacher's telling you. I don't know. There's a lot of ways to look at this poem, but at the same time, what are we getting at? What are we saying in this poem? Like, I don't understand the purpose of this. I think it brings up an interesting talking point, but maybe it would be a better poem if we expanded on what the theme for this poem was supposed to be or what it was supposed to mean, because I can't tell what we're getting at right now. But maybe if you added a couple more stanzas, you could give us a point to the poem, because right now it doesn't have a point. Okay, now we are at metaphor on page 45. So, am I crazy? Rhetorical question. Or does it seem that you can use your phone as a coaster, toss it around like a hacky sack, punt it across the street to your buddy, who then takes it to the train station and lays it on the tracks for a high five with the next oncoming locomotive, play a game of tennis with it in place of a ball, send it through a washing machine with bricks, dance on it in high heels in a puddle of liquor, and it's fine. But the second you drop it half a foot from your plush bed to your carpeted floor atop your cashmere rug, it shatters. This is a very millennial metaphor for the human psyche. My suggested edit was at the bottom. I circled that this is a very millennial metaphor for the human psyche. I honestly circled that and said, actually explore this, because if you made this a longer poem and explored how this is like the human psyche, amazing. 10 out of 10, love it. I actually really like the rest of this poem. I think it's good. Honestly, if you just cut off that this is a very millennial metaphor for the human psyche, it would be better than the majority of the poems in this book. Because I think it's still saying something, even without that kind of, this is what my poem is about at the end. I think it still makes sense. I think you still get it. But I would love to see this expand on, to see this explored, because I think it's a good idea for a poem. I think it's an interesting take. I think it could be something very unique and interesting. But again, we gave up halfway through and we just told everybody what the point of the poem was instead of letting them read it and feel it for themselves. Okay, and next we have time. Isn't it funny how you can go your entire life without someone, then one day you can't imagine a minute without them? Honestly, it's just meh. It could be a tweet. It could not be a tweet. It didn't inspire anything in me. It's just kind of like, yeah, sometimes you meet people and they become integral parts of your lives. Yes, that does indeed happen. So, again, for me, it's just like, oh, look, this thing happens. And I'm like, okay, cool. What about it? Okay, next up is Chivalry, which I do actually have some suggested edits for because, again, I got a little bit ugh. Okay. I'm not some no-brained bimbo, and I'm not some helpless girl. I am fucking remarkable, and I deserve the world. I don't need you to open my door, but the gesture would be nice. I don't need you to buy my meal, the offer would suffice. I don't need to be taken care of, but it'd be cool to know you care. I'm a holographic Charizard, highly desired and rare. Yo, I even drop Pokemon references because I'm fucking dope as shit. I'm good with just me. I don't need you, not even a tiny bit. But need and want are different, and I can't deny the latter. When it comes to autonomy, it just really doesn't matter. But I don't ask for all your time or my weight in gold. All I want is a good morning text and a fucking hand to hold. Of all the things I listed, just know this to be true. I want you in my life, my love, as much as I don't need you. And I think this poem's actually pretty good. The reason it became meh for me is I hate, with a passion, the yo, I even drop Pokemon references because I'm fucking dope as shit. I literally scribbled that out in my book. I hate it. I think it's dumb. You don't need that. It takes away from what you're saying here. Honestly, the way it was spaced in the book is that the first part on the left side, that was on one page. And then there was a good 3-4 inches of blank space. And then on the next page was the right hand side. And it didn't look like the two were connected at all. I just thought it was an untitled poem on the next page, and then I realized it continued. So please make it clear with formatting where poems continue, because I was confused. I think that you could keep the I'm good with just me, I don't need you, not even a tiny bit as a transition to the second half. I suggested cutting out all of it when I thought that it was two different poems, but I think you could keep the I'm good with just me because it provides you that lead into need and want are different, which I like. I liked that line. I liked the second half. I thought it was good. This is the example of a bait and switch, because we think you're saying, hey, I don't need you and I don't want you, but you are saying I don't need you but I do want you. So I like that. It makes it clear that this is more of a choice than like a soulmate situation, and I actually liked the poem, but the setup and some of the lines just made it meh for me because it didn't impact as hard as it could have without those lines and that setup. And then we have the one that I love to hate. Fair. Life isn't fair, but it's unfair to everyone. So that's fair, I guess. This is a tweet. Cool, what a great surface observation. How about we explore it in a poem? How about we take this concept and we talk about it with poetry and lyrical language instead of just stating it? Because if I paid money for a book that is filled with surface statements, I might be a little bit upset. I might be a little bit resentful of the fact that I have given you my money. Just a thought. Just a concept. Okay, so next we're moving on to the good, because I would in fact like to talk about the good poems that I found in this book. In a total, I did find 10 out of 62, so that's 16% of this section, which honestly was both better and worse than I was expecting. I wasn't really sure what to expect from all the videos. I thought that maybe all of it would be really, really bad, but instead I kept getting all these little flashes of hope and then being very let down the next one. So I'm not sure which is better. Okay, so the first one that I have for an example is called Sticks. You're a dimwit, a nitwit, a halfwit, and a dipshit, a peon, a moron, an utter bore and yawn, imbecile, ignoramus, vile, yucky, heinous, a nincompoop, a ninny, and absolutely cringy. You're a roly-poly fatty from all the things you've eaten. You're a jackass, an ass, a nutcase, and a cretin. Numbskull, twerk, jackoff, pleb, dunce, dweeb, dunderhead, bozo, dork, buffoon, flop, stupid, smelly, useless mop. Hold on, wait, I'm not the type to call someone a dummy. To whom would I ever speak this way? Oh crap, I'm talking to me. Okay, I actually like this. I think it has a good flow, and by the time we get to the end, we're kind of like, wow, this seems like a lot of insults. What? And I feel like in the middle with the longer lines, you kind of get a sense where you're kind of like, oh, I don't know if I like this. And then as you move on, you're kind of like, Ah, yes, yes. This does feel a little silly. Um, Personally, I don't know what I'd do with the last line, but I really don't like the "to whom could I ever speak this way? Oh crap, I'm talking to me." I don't like that. I couldn't think of a better suggestion for it. Um, Maybe something like, "But all the things I say to myself echo in my head," maybe something like that. Just anything other than, "oh crap, I'm talking to me." I really don't like that. It makes me uncomfy. Okay, and then next up we have Stranger. He asked, "Can I kiss you?" She replied, "I don't know you that well." He asked her favorite color. "Come on," she said, "you can do better." So he took it to heart, and better he did. He learned about what she was like as a kid. He listened to her friends, oh, the stories they'd tell. He talked to her demons and learned them as well. He became her diary the way he would hold, ever so dearly, the secrets she told. He knew all the anguish she buried inside. He'd seen all her scars and the thoughts they implied. But after a while he stopped asking questions and forgot the details she'd previously mentioned. As time went on, the distance grew, and she found a stranger in the person she knew. So the day came, as it does so often, that their love was laid to rest in a coffin. As they choked on goodbye, though the bond had been broken, he wanted to leave her with one parting token. He asked, "Can I kiss you?" She replied, "I don't know you that well." Okay, so I don't like the ending. Personally, the right hand's... Nope, that's the left. I am using my right-handed gesture. Left-hand side of the screen, I wanted it to just end at, "and she found a stranger in the person she knew," and not even have those last couple stanzas. Personally, I thought that the page ended there anyways, because, again, the spacing left me thinking that it just ended. The margins are really big in this book, and I do not like that. But the second half just felt kind of extraneous, and honestly, it just should have ended at the first page. That left me with a lot more feeling than ending it at the second, because even though it does make a nice circle, it doesn't leave me feeling as much. Okay. Oh, I forgot what we were looking at. I thought we were looking at meh again, so then I just accidentally flipped to the wrong thing. Okay. Fashion. That is on page 23. I've always worn my heart on my sleeve and my feelings on my face. You without a doubt could read my mood in any case. Glad, mad, sad, or scared, it wasn't hard to guess. Some only wear their emotions to bed, but mine were my Sunday best. Then people started critiquing my style and criticizing my taste. So due to public opinion, my revealing outfits were replaced. They'd always been my fashion choice, but I needed to make a swap. I've always worn my heart on my sleeve, but now I prefer tank tops. And I really like that. Honestly, I like this poem. I enjoyed it. The rhyme works here. I think it's a little sing-songy and just a little bit childish, but it works for this poem because this poem carries meaning, and it is nice. Like, reading this was so nice. It was a breath of fresh air. And it wasn't my favorite out of this book, but I really thought it was good. And then on page 28 we have Stop, which I literally wrote in all caps below. This is the best one so far. You gave up when I wanted to fight. You insisted that the future was gone. You insisted that you drive me home. And the whole way I prayed for a red light. Just, solid. I love it. I want more like this. And this is what I'm talking about when I say Gabbie Hanna gave me glimpses of hope throughout this section and then just shattered them with no remorse continually. Gabbie Hanna, I am begging you, go to some poetry classes. Please go to some poetry classes. Like, oh my gosh. Your poems would improve so much. Okay. Then we have You on page 34. Don't worry about who you should be. You don't need to be ashamed. You're perfect in every way. No, you're perfect in the way that no one's perfect. It's okay to not be okay. And thank you. I like that. Great. No changes for me. I said good. It's nice. It's just a nice feel-good poem. It's a nice poem. It's definitely something I needed to read after reading all those pages about killing myself. Well, killing yourself. I needed that. Okay, so then we have the questionable. Okay, before we do the questionable, we're going to have an honorable mention for my most hated segment in this book. They're the little advice paragraphs. I started tagging them under suggested edits, and then I got really fed up and they got mixed between being tagged as meh and bad because there were so many of them in this book and they made me frustrated. So, for example, this is advice 14, the first one that appears in this book on page 5. When I was a kid, my biggest fear was getting lost in space, and it turns out that maybe I shouldn't have been so stressed out about that because I don't have a spaceship, so don't make problems where there aren't any. Again, it's a tweet, it's a rushed paragraph, there's no punctuation, which bugs me, and it feels really rushed. But this could have become something good with some workshopping. You could have made a poem out of being scared, of being lost in space, and you don't have a spaceship, so why are you worried? Like that, it's so basic, but it's so good because it's a small perspective on something. And as always, I think you're kind of simplifying like a greater thought process. I've seen a couple paragraphs, I'm like, this doesn't seem quite right, but okay. You tried at least. Some of the poems you didn't try, so I'll take it. But I think the advice series had great, like, potential to be made into longer and good poems, whereas what they are right now, you could tweet it out. And I think just maybe a little more effort than a tweet would be amazing. Okay, so we're going on to the questionable, which was 6 out of 62 pages, and so 10%. The big one here is that I do actually have some greater critique. One of the ones I tagged as self-degradation is called Best, and it's on page 12. And it says, everyone tells me I deserve better. I know I deserve better, but I don't want better. I want you. And for me, I circled this and I said, is there a follow-up poem to this that shows realizing she could do better and getting better? Because we don't know who this you is and how they act. So if you're trapped in an unhealthy relationship, don't stay in it. Don't listen to Gabbie Hanna. I honestly was waiting for there to be a second part to it where things get better. And then I realized there wasn't, so... and then the next one is depression, and it's on page 15. There weren't any poems in between those two pages. It is a drawing of the front of something looking angry and fierce, and then the back where they're actually holding flowers, and I actually really loved the drawing. It was nice. So, this one's called Hide, 15, I tagged as depression. It says, everyone's asking if I'm feeling okay. The truth is I'm always feeling this way. I'm just having a hard time disguising it today. And for me, I said, is there a follow-up poem to this? Where, honestly, I feel like you maybe could interpret you as that, like it's okay to not be okay. But again, it wasn't tagged clearly as a follow-up. It's in a different position on the page. Clearly, it's not meant to be that way. To be honest, it might be that I'm too used to Amanda Lovelace because she has journeys through most of her poetry books. And she'll take old poems about something bad and flip them later in the story in her poetry books to turn them into the positive. Or she'll like compare two perspectives, and I feel like I've gotten spoiled by that and very used to somebody who very intentionally chooses every single word she puts in a poem and who has a very clear laid out plan. I didn't feel that with Gabbie Hanna. So then we have phrasing for me. This was why this was questionable. It's on page 27. It's called Anxiety. There isn't a cause that you could explain, but I'll claw my way in like a cat in the rain. I don't pretend to make much sense, but I'll twist up your nerves like a barbed wire fence. If you find yourself without a qualm, I'll send chills up your spine with my icy palm. Although your whole to-do list is ticked, I'll set fire to your cheeks like a match to a wick. No matter the time, or the month, or the season, I'll ruin your day without rhyme or reason. The reason this was questionable is the part that says, I'll set fire to your cheeks like a match to a wick. blushing? Why is anxiety making you blush? Especially when you're connecting it to having your to-do list completed. Maybe if it was talking about social situations, I could understand the setting fire to your cheeks, but since we're not talking about a social situation, why would thinking your to-do list is done make you blush from anxiety? And that was my biggest qualm. I liked everything else. That one was the biggest one where I was like, what? And so then I don't know why, but I think this is after I decided, oh yeah, maybe I should tag the ones that I find questionable, that I tagged Bird on page 51 as suicidal ideation, which says, I jumped today and I survived. Everyone assumed that I wanted to die. I just wanted to know what it's like to fly. So, first read, I saw it as suicidal ideation because we've already had like 4 poems about that in this section. And I was kind of like, oh, cool, thanks, I hate it. But then I was also kind of like, is this supposed to be taken as, like, inspirational? Like, what everybody else thinks is crazy is actually, like, something to do, something that's inspirational to do. But if that is so, this was not the way to phrase it. That's another way to go, buddy. So, for me, this read as suicidal ideation and left me feeling a bit yucky. And so then the one memorable piece of writing that made me go, oh, that's nice, I like that, even though it was in a poem that made me sad, because of the writing, not because of the content, is from Smile on page 39. The thing about a smile is it's not too hard to fake it, so I'll never let you make my day for fear that you might break it. Because that was great writing. That was just nice prose. It's just really well done. It made me smile when I read that phrase. It made me legitimately happy to read those 2 lines. So, the memorable is 1 page out of 62 with 2% of the total content that I have reviewed for you. And because I'm extra, I made a graph. Because as I was finishing up my 62 pages, I realized that quite a few of them were just pages with drawings on them. And I went, I should probably let them know how many drawings there were, because I did the rest of it and I was like, if somebody smart starts doing the math, they might be like, hey, Natalie, you missed 10 pages. I did not miss 10 pages. They were literally just drawings. I don't know what else to tell you. Honestly, I thought the drawings were pretty good. They were better than I was expecting. Some of them are really creepy though, so I didn't like looking at them. And like, there's this one poem called Vomit later on, and she like drew somebody throwing up in the toilet, and it was not nice to look at, and I did not enjoy looking at it. But in conclusion, Gabbie Hanna does have some good poems in this book. You'll see more of it. I have 4 parts to this series, and if people aren't enjoying my undoubtedly long videos, I'll make a short one, condensed one. I'll do my best to condense it more, because I already left out a lot of poems, but I didn't, 1, want to basically read you Gabbie Hanna's entire poetry book, and 2, I didn't want to read you Gabbie Hanna's entire poetry book. But honestly, I really do think Gabbie Hanna could have a good talent for this. I mean, she writes music, and although, don't get me into some of the lyrical choices that she's made, I think she has some good potential for being able to write good prose if she put some effort into it. I think it's pretty clear that she went into this book deal thinking that maybe she'd just get inspired and like she'd just be able to bang it all out like a couple days before the deadline and like it would be fine. And it's pretty clear that either that inspiration did not hit or it did and then it petered out before she got all the poems done. So what I can say is, 1, Gabbie Hanna, please plan your poetry books. I don't know, that sounded so weird to my brain. Please plan your poetry books. Please plan your books when you accept book deals. Then number 2, please go to poetry classes. I can't emphasize this enough. I only did creative writing, intro to creative writing, which involved poetry, because I'm not a super into poetry person. I only really got into it thanks to Amanda Lovelace. I write some, it's not great. I'll share it with you if you want to compare my poetry to Gabbie Hanna's. But you have potential to write good prose. You have that writing potential. I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, out of this entire book, there were no good poems. There were good poems. I can tell which ones you probably put some thought into. I can tell which ones you put zero thought into and just kind of threw up on a piece of paper. Like, it's easy to see which ones got effort and which ones didn't. And I just would love to see more effort in your poetry. I'm saying this like Gabbie Hanna's gonna watch my video. But yes, I think Gabbie Hanna has the potential to be a good writer if she takes it seriously and decides to get better at it. Because again, it takes practice. If she hasn't written a lot of poetry before, I hope she hasn't written a lot of poetry before, but if she hasn't written that before, she won't know how to write poetry. I mean, it's similar to songwriting, yes, but it's not the exact same. And I think you can kind of tell that with the writing. And you see on page so much better than what you hear in song, because sometimes if you don't have a phrase that works quite well, you won't notice in music because the sound covers it up. You're not always focusing only on what the people are saying. Whereas in poetry, all you have is the phrasing. So you have to make sure that every single thing mirrors your intentions exactly. And that's why it's so hard to write good poetry. And I mean, again, if you want great poetry, Amanda Lovelace is my queen. I love her. I'm gonna buy every single book she ever puts out. Stunning, 100% amazing. I'm just that Lady Gaga meme of just stunning, show-stopping, fabulous. Like, I love her. She is great. She is wonderful. Her poetry is incredibly accessible and easy to read. It's beautiful. And I think Gabbie Hanna has the potential to write really, really well, to, access that type of love for authors that some fans of really good writing has. So honestly, Gabbie, read more poetry. Read really good poetry writers. Read classics. Read modern poetry. There's so many modern poets that are doing so well. Amanda Lovelace is, of course, as always, my favorite. Nikita Gill is good. You can even look at some of the poetry collections published by universities. I bought some for my university when they had a sale. They weren't the best thing I've ever read, but they were good. They still made me feel things. And so you need to get that range of different writing. If you've only read Shel Silverstein, expand your horizons, because you have the potential to write truly deep, meaningful poetry that can affect people. And I think you should try your best to do it, because that would be awesome. I would love to see YouTubers writing stuff that means something, that shows that they're not just doing this for a cash grab, and that would make me so happy. I love to see people write and write well and succeed while they are writing. So anyways, if you enjoyed this probably unnecessarily long video, please leave a comment, subscribe. If you have a better way for me to put poems on screen, I would love to hear it. I'm notably bad at doing anything with video editing. I'm using a free software that I haven't updated yet because I'm a little scared to see what the update looks like. So, in conclusion, my wonderful humans, we have 3 more parts to go. I hope I'll see you on Friday. And with that, Scholastically Natalie is out.